All righty, 10 a.m. So we're going to get this party started. Hello and welcome to yet another awesome educational event produced by the Cybersecurity Marketing Society. So my name is Gianna Whitber and I'm a co-founder of the society. Today's topic is how to build and scale cybersecurity community. And oh boy, this one is going to be awesome. So just a little background on the society to start. The Cybersecurity Marketing Society is a private community for cybersecurity marketers from companies big and small. We provide education, networking, mentoring, and career growth opportunities for cybersecurity marketers across all stages of their careers, from entry level to CMO and beyond. Plus, we have an absolute blast while doing it. Some of our events include fireside chats, webinars by experts, Ask Me Anything style virtual meetups, and casual networking, which includes our bi-weekly beers and tears events, where all of us cyber marketers get together in a Zoom and just chat and complain and celebrate wins and talk through what any challenges we currently have in our careers. So make sure to visit our website at cybersecuritymarketingsociety.com and see our event schedule on LinkedIn. We always have a ton of awesome events just like this. So feel free to go there and follow us on LinkedIn, and that's where you see our upcoming events. We have another one tomorrow and also a holiday party in about a week that we hope to see you all there. One more housekeeping item. So for our webinars, we try to be really interactive as much as possible. So if you have a question, submit it in the chat or in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. When you're submitting chat or questions in the chat box, you might want to toggle the tube to all attendees and panelists. Otherwise, you'll just send it to me, Ant, and Pratik. And then if there's any questions that don't get answered during the event, we'll get them at the end. And if they don't get answered at the end due to time overrun, we'll follow up via email as well. So now I am absolutely so pleased to introduce our speakers today. We have Pratik Ghumade and Antriksh Shah. So Pratik is currently working as an operations manager for Audius Group in India. And Audius enables people to have better informed business decisions when it comes to operational security. Pratik has been involved with various security and internet governance communities. So he was a part of the core organizing team at NULLCON and Hardware.io, which are world-renowned security forums. He has also been organizing and curating independent TEDx events. And Ant is another cybersecurity community building luminary. He is the co-founder of NULLCON and Hardware.io, Hardware.io being a hardware security conference. He's currently a director at Payatu, which is a company that provides security testing services. And these forums that Ant has co-founded and Pratik has worked with empower the world to build a secure hardware and security ecosystem. And they're really high profile, and we're so excited to have both of these speakers here today. So the topic is going to be how to build and scale cybersecurity community. And with that, I'm going to jump off the screen and hand the mics over to Pratik and Ant.
Yeah, thank you, Gianna. Let me just start sharing my screen. Is it visible for everyone?
Yeah, it's for me at least.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining around the globe. My name is Pratik Ghumade, as Gianna mentioned, and I currently work as an operations manager at Audius India. Audius is a leading medium-sized IT company, and we employ more than 500 people at 17 different locations. And Audius services enable better informed decision making for you and for your businesses when it comes to operational security. And I was fortunate enough to be part of communities like Internet Society, IGF, TEDx, NULLCON, and Hardware.io. And in my previous role at Payatu, I was working as a media strategist, where I met my co-presenter Antriksh Shah, who is my mentor as well as a good friend and a good human being. Over to you, Antriksh, for the introduction.
I'm not sure if I'm a good human being, but I'm a vegetarian. That's kind enough. All right. So yeah, I like to say that I'm a security enthusiast from Goa because people think Goa is a location which is only for parties on the beach, but no, there is some tech happening as well. So if anybody travels to India and want to see the tech ecosystem or startups, do visit Goa. It's a small town in the country. Well, I'm the co-founder of a company called Payatu, which is a boutique security consulting company based in the Netherlands and in India, where we offer testing to IoT vendors, automotive, fintech, and telecom companies. We are also primarily well known and popularly known for community outreach activities and conferences like NULLCON and Hardware.io. So let me start. Why is this? Okay.
Yeah. So regarding the format of the session, this particular session, altogether for around 30 minutes, we will talk about the presentation that we have created, and we will share our learnings from building meaningful communities and events. And throughout this session, we will be using success stories from NULLCON, and Hardware.io communities. And yeah, there's a Christmas giveaway for at the end of this particular session, where we are going to ask a simple question, and top three correct responses will get the goodies from us. So yeah, over to you, Antriksh.
All right, let's see if this slide works. Nope. Pratik, do you want to change the slide for me?
Just
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let me stop the share and reshare it again.
Yeah.
It will take around.
Hey guys, do you want me?
Seconds.
Oh, okay. Do you want, if you want also, I can, this is Gianna, the voice with no face. If you want, you could shoot me the link and I can drive the show too. No problem.
It's, I think, okay. It's just that it was not working for Antriksh. So let me reshare the screen again. Antriksh, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Do you want me to go to the
First, yeah,
yes.
Just move to the first slide. All right. So yeah, thank you, Pratik, and sorry for the hiccup, everybody. But let's make this smooth, and I will, whenever I need to change the slide, I'll request Pratik to change the slide for me. Yeah. So well, everybody needs a community, but before that, let me say that whatever I'm going to speak on today's presentation is my personal learnings and experience with organizing and starting the Null community, NULLCON and Hardware.io in Asia, Europe, and US. I would like to start with who's a community member. In my opinion, it's somebody who is contributing, participating as an attendee, and in one way or the other, and just not restricting to, let's say, a conference or a meetup, organizer, a board member, a speaker, or a volunteer, right? It's somebody who's contributing in one way or the other. So yeah. And Pratik, next slide. So yeah, I've taken the slide from the Null community presentation by Sandeep, who's the community manager over there. So how do you start a community, right? Basically, there has to be an interest that you would want to share or an interest that you want to learn from, right? So it could be software security, it could be hardware, it could be a maker community, it could be for government or for anybody, right? So have a common interest. Yes, a physical place, a location is important, but in the current scenario, you don't have that issue of finding office space or a coffee shop or your garage space, right? You can't do that. So you could obviously move to online meeting space like Zoom. Currently, what we are doing, all of us together, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangout, anything that's possible that you can use. Announcement is another important factor to start a community so that a lot more people can know, can join. You could use any platform that you are comfortable with. Twitter, Facebook, Discord, LinkedIn, Meetup, there are so many platforms and a lot of people are there. So you need to make an announcement about the meetup. If it's a physical location, you need to give the address, date, time. If there is any restriction policy, please do mention. Otherwise, you would just find odd people coming down, right? Pratik, next slide. Yes, and gather, connect, share, learn together is important when people are at the meetup. But the key important point over here is key success to any community building is repeat. Uh, it's important that you have regular meetups. Does not have to be weekly or monthly, but after every certain point of time, it has to be consistent. It could be once in a quarter as well, so that people don't forget and always come back for the meetup. Pratik, next slide. Yeah, so taking inspiration from the Null community, which was quite local to the Indian subcontinent in the year 2008 and 9, we wanted to grow the platform and invite international researchers and community to share with us and also learn from them. So we started a conference called NULLCON in the year 2010 in Goa. For the first year, it was really, I would say, very small, just 100 people. We barely had any sponsors. We had just had SANS and Prakseva. We also had, I think, only about 10 or 15 paid registration people for the conference, but the rest, everybody else was for free. And we learned from that conference on how we engage and share with the community. So the next year, we had something different at the conference. I would say we had an electrical engineer, Mr. Hari Prasad, who's not a hacker, but yes, his background is electronics and engineering. So he had found a bug in the Indian electronic voting machine. And this is 2011. And he did report it to the government, and there was a lot of legal issues onto him and stuff like that. But this is how you create diversity within community and grow the community. You bring in people from other backgrounds to share their experience and learnings to us. So for us as hackers, we were really amazed by seeing the research that was done by Mr. Hari Prasad. Going ahead, 2014, the company AMC wanted to interact with cybersecurity researchers in India because they were building a large team in India. So they wanted to do outreach. So they tied up with the NULLCON community to organize capture the flag hacking competition. So for those who are not familiar with CTF, it is, I would say, an online contest where you can test your cybersecurity skills. In a short way, it's a learning platform for people who are interested in web, infrastructure, code review, any kind of CTF, right? So in the year 2015, we had a few women who were cybersecurity researchers who said, hey, you're doing CTFs at the conference. We would also like to create our own. But the uniqueness of them was they wanted the CTF not just for the women, they wanted for everybody to play. Just the differentiating factor was the challenges would be created by the women community. So Vinja CTF came into existence. So Vinja stands for basically Women Ninja. So that's how similarly in 2017, we started having a lot of talks related to hardware and IoT. So we came up with a CTF, another CTF called Hardware CTF, which is done by some of the researchers from France and UK, and every year they come to NULLCON to Goa to run the CTF. I think another successful story out of this was in the year 2019, when the topmost intelligence agency, government agency of India, the NTRO, officially sponsored the conference because they wanted to engage with the community and talk about their issues and how the community can help them safeguard the national's critical infrastructure. I believe it took a lot of time for us to convince a lot of senior folks, not just from the government, but also industry, that talking to hackers is not talking to criminals. It's in fact the opposite, because we can help you and we can learn from each other. So I think this was a great success for us. And the biggest achievement from the community that we got was in 2020, where so NULLCON was organized in the month of March 2020 physically. I think it was the last physical cybersecurity event globally that ever happened. We had almost 2,000 people show up from all over the world: UK, Europe, US, Southeast Asia. Everybody turned up, and I would really thank the community who showed up at the conference, because it just means that the community grows stronger in difficult times. So yeah, Pratik, yeah. So what does your community need? It definitely needs a safe and a supportive environment to share and learn from. If you have a unique skill set, please do share and engage with your fellow community members and make new friends. Avoid working in silos. Enable informal mentoring. This is something I have learned from my co-founders, Asim and Murtuza. So, it's always good to have mentors, and, then it just follows down that over a period of time, you would be a mentor to somebody new as well. Challenge the community members to learn something new and give back to the community in one form or the other. It does not have to be always in terms of talks or workshops, but it also could be in terms of writing blogs so that you can share, so that if somebody can read the blog post in another sitting in the US or any other part of the world, right? So that's how you share the community globally. Contribute to CTFs wherever possible. Volunteer for community events online if it's possible as well, right? So I think one of the best things that we all can do in today's world, sitting at home due to the pandemic, is learn something new and share it in the online form at any community that you can, because we don't have to travel, so there's no geographic boundaries over here. I think this also builds a culture to a constructive feedback community for one another to grow from, because if you don't share feedback, you wouldn't know what's good, what's bad for the community. So it's important to also have a constructive feedback within your community. Foster a philosophy of inclusiveness. I really stress on this point and this slide. This was a presentation done by Kate Temkin at hardware.io in 2018. And I urge you all to have a look at her talk. Let me give you just 3 synopses or 3 key takeaways personally for me from her talk. One is show people how things can be approached And instead of just saying, oh, it's too difficult, or it's only for the experts or for the wizards. Specifically for hardware security, people fear that, oh, I do not know anything about hardware. I do not know how to solder. I do not know how to reverse engineer firmware. I do not know what is secure boot and stuff like that. I do not have the equipment. Yes, that's a situation. It's not easy to overcome, but if you show or teach somebody an approach, I think there is a solution. Also, we need to fill the artificial gap between the hardware and the software engineers, because many times, there's a blame game between one another that, oh, this is a software bug, so the software guys have to look at it. I don't have to do anything. My job is just to design the hardware and solder it. No, I think it works hand in hand, because at the end, it's the end consumer who's affected if there's a security vulnerability into an IoT device, right? This is a very important point where we need to create entry-level material, entry-level blogs, which is easy for one and other to read and learn from. Create more open source tools, which, let's say for an example, you do not have a paid version of an application which is helped for reverse engineering a firmware, right? So this is your entry level barrier to do something. How would you overcome this? So if there are open source tools, it definitely helps you to do your research, and also creates a community where somebody would like to share with an additional plugin to it, or they find an way to overcome a problem, right? I think the last key takeaway from me from her presentation is, and it's one of the most important one, is we need more teachers rather than rock stars in the industry today. Because if there are communities which are, promoting rock stars, I wouldn't say promoting rock stars, but self-identifying rock stars and encouraging them always, it becomes a barrier to grow the community. So we need more teachers and fewer rock stars, I would definitely say. Next slide, yes. If you talk about the infosec industry, there are various key stakeholders, right? The government, vendors, academia, researchers, and the media. I think the initial four are self-explanatory, how do you interact with them and how it benefits everybody. But I would like to stress on the media point, particularly because it's important for us to educate media houses, journalists on basic concepts of engineering. It could be, how does the internet work, right? It could be how an email system work, what is a dark web, how to use Tor or Tor browser or VPN to safeguard themselves from any kind of surveillance. Because many times such concepts are not clear to them, and they could write a story which can be completely wrong from the actual scenario. It also means that by educating them, we are creating an environment and awareness among the non-techies that hackers are not cyber criminals. Hackers are actually a creative mindset people who are here to do something different and unique with the existing environment or application that they have access to. So Pratik, do you want to take it ahead now?
I think, yes, thank you, Antriksh. I think this is the right slide, because in the chat, we have a questions regarding how do you maintain mentor and mentee relationship. And the best moment in a mentor and a mentee relationship is when the mentor learns as much or more or from the mentee. And if you ask most mentors why they do it, this is one of the core lessons. And if you extend this to cybersecurity community, everyone becomes a mentor. And often people ask what they can do to help cybersecurity community. And one of the ways is that you can mentor, focus on your specific skill or background, and let the community know you are willing to mentor one person on this. And that's where we started HackerHelp and Resume and Career Clinic at NULLCON, and Fix Up event at hardware.io. And these initiatives will foster the professional growth for individual community members working in InfoSec and hardware security. And talking about HackerHelp, we started this initiative last year because being a hacker is always a challenging job. You need to keep yourself updated with the technology. And being a hacker means they have a good days and bad days. And that's where we decided to start HackerHelp. This initiative is run by our team member, Nikhil Mittal. And for the first edition, we had experts from Gojek, HackerOne, Honeywell, Buckcrowd, EY, PayPal, mentoring the people who are venturing into the world of hacking. And the other initiative, which I mentioned, Resume and Career Clinic, the first step, if I have to talk about towards getting a new job or change in any industry, is to have a proper resume. And InfoSec is no different. And we have been organizing Resume and Career Clinic since NULLCON Goa 2018, where renowned experts who have a vast amount of combined experience in interviewing and vetting candidates are ready to put their experience to work and to help you providing feedback and guidance in your professional career. And this kind of culture of widely sharing knowledge, experience, and expertise is incredibly satisfying. And the more you do, the more you will see others in the community too. And there are gems everywhere, often undiscovered, that appear when everyone becomes a mentor. And creating such initiative for your community will definitely help grow. And in the cybersecurity community, there are many events happening all the time. Although some of these events have lots of room for socialization, especially at the grassroots level, but sometimes other event doesn't have. So casual meetups and after meetup parties are very much important. And in many situations, the real party interaction happens after the official party ends. And this leads to the value of after party with a group of people. And for example, if I have to talk about NULLCON, we organize a lot of parties. Let's take an example of speaker reception party, which we organize one day before the conference, and then networking parties for attendees after the first day of the conference. And there are other social events happening all the time throughout the week of NULLCON. NULLCON networking party is most talked and infamous social gathering in the InfoSec community. And finest InfoSec enthusiasts relax and meet with their own kinds. And this is not just for hackers or cybersecurity researchers, but the CXOs also attend this party and they get connected with the hackers and researchers at these parties. And sometimes there are small community evening events happening at the beach. You have to experiment with social events. For 2 to 3 years in a row, we organize the World Run by Hackers on the Beach, an initiative by Ajit Hatti, where there were around 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers of run on the beach. And each of these approaches builds the community. Your cybersecurity community might adopt some or all of these or create new one for you. And regardless, always remember that the community is the heart of the cybersecurity industry. For NULLCON and hardware.io community, we have developed a series of deeply held beliefs about how to behave and interact with each other. These beliefs evolved organically. There was no rules committee or hierarchy that voted on them, but this creates an amazing amount of community power. And one of those deeply held beliefs to secret of success of a community is to give before you get. And in this approach, we are always willing to try to be helpful to the anyone, and we volunteer at other meetups and conferences. And Null and NULLCON co-founders have worked very hard to incorporate this "you before you get" and volunteering philosophy into the Indian cybersecurity community. And as I volunteer with other communities and travel, I hear people talking about how it is easy to engage with the Indian cybersecurity community. And that is the story of most of us in Null community presenting in Null monthly meetups. Someone once helped me when I was young and I was starting into cybersecurity. And now I want to give back by sharing the knowledge which I learned with others. And this is the power of giving and volunteering, and this will create meaningful conversations in your community. If I have to talk about building the relationship between hackers and cybersecurity executive community, it is very much essential to build and have conversations among security researchers, academia, and government officials and CXOs in your community. And one such example is Robert, who is a French researcher and goes by name Elliot. And he finds a lot of bugs in Indian government website and systems. And we invited him virtually during NULLCON Goa 2019. We invited him virtually because inviting him physically in Goa would have brought trouble from him with the Indian authorities. And he had a problem with how the Indian government agencies are handling bugs that he is reporting, and other security researchers as well. And during NULLCON Goa 2019, he had a conversation with the Indian intelligence agency's chief, and the chief agreed that the government would seek help from Robert and vice versa. And the beauty of this conversation is that the conversation happened in the public with everyone listening and agreeing to help each other. This is not just about the researchers and government, but also about the CXOs. There is a still disconnect between the hackers and security researchers and CXOs. And there should be enough communication between both the communities, and your community can help build those relationships and conversations. And at NULLCON, we started that through CXO track, where one CXO panel consists of 4 to 5 people discussing about trending topic in InfoSec. And most of the time we have at least one security researcher and one ethical hacker on the panel, so that we understand the problems from both sides of the coin. I wanted to mention a success story here from the community in India. Jörg and Fabian are my colleague and in audius, and they are very associated with Indian cybersecurity community for a long time. And they took up this initiative here in India. Dharamshala is a small town in Himalayas, and it's a residence of the Dalai Lama, who is living in exile in India. And it is also headquarters of the Central Tibetan Administration. Also, it's a home of a large Tibetan community in India. And in 2013, they had opportunity to go to Dharamshala and visit the local Null community there. And they organized a cybersecurity awareness workshop for locals in Dharamshala, and they taught how to be a better hacker, and better student and better person. And eventually the student and the community member Tenzin, who learned from Jörg and Fabian, is now working with the Tibetan exile government, as he's implementing these ideologies in universities and schools. And that is a power of community that you are creating. That is how ideas will transport when you scale and grow. About the success story from hardware.io, Antriksh, I would like you to take on this.
Sure, thanks, Pratik. So when we started the conference hardware.io, this is in the year 2015, the objective was to create a platform where hardware researchers could talk, share knowledge, and interact with the industry, because there was no such platform globally for hardware researchers to exchange and share stuff, right? So we did this in 2015. We got some good presentations, but over a period of time, we realized that there was amazing interest and amazing research being done in the academic and sector, right? But we had very few academias or PhD students presenting at our conference, and I was wondering why. How can we bridge this gap between the industry and the academia? Because the objective of the platform was where people can share, learn, and secure and trust their own hardware. So we started with the poster competition. It's nothing new for the academia. All the academic conferences and communities have a poster competition. But for the industry, yes, it was something we wanted to do. And this is how we thought we could bridge the gap. So a PhD student or an undergraduate student prepares a poster of their research, and they present it to the industry that's at hardware.io conference, right? So there are multiple benefits out of this where, yes, for the students is industry exposure. They also get to vet how practical their research can be implemented in the industry. I think for the industry, if they are finding a problem and they see this research as a solution or a temporary fix to it, I think it's a great opportunity for the academy to collaborate with the industry. So there are multiple benefits out of it. We did try it this year. It was a success. And I think this is how one way we could bridge the gap between the academia and the hardware industry. Yes, I think this is the end of our presentation, and we would like to leave you with this quote by Richard Feynman, who is a scientist, and he says, "If you want to master something, teach it."
Yeah, and this is a Christmas surprise giveaway, and so we will, in the next slide, we will ask a small question, which is related to hacking group and community. By the way, this is a hacker t-shirt, and the hacker is written in Hindi. It's an Indian language, and this will be giveaway for first correct answers. What you will have to do is you will have to answer the chat, and the correct first three responses will get the hacker goodie, NULLCON goodie, and the stickers and other goodies as well. So are you guys ready for this? Let me just open a chat window. Yes. Now it's time for the question. Which of the following is the oldest hacker group or community in the world? Option A, Legion of Doom. Option B, Chaos Computer Club. Option C, Cult of the Dead Cow. And option D, Lizard Squad. Okay, let's wait for people to answer. No brute force, only the correct answers. Okay, someone is saying A, Hannah is saying C, Shivang is saying B, Hector is saying A. Okay, Hector has now changed the answer to B. Any more answers? Right? Is it time to reveal the answer? Okay, Shivang is saying final B. Okay, so the answer is B, Chaos Computer Club, famously known as CCC. They organize annual conference in Leipzig, Germany, and it's one of the oldest hacker community and hacker groups in the Germany as well as in the Europe. Others, Legion of Doom and Cult of Dead Cows, they were formed in 1980s, but after the CCC. So yeah, and the Lizard Squad, it was early 2000, I think. That's when they started Lizard Squad. And I think if I have to go through the answer, the winner is Shivang, and then Hector later on changed the answer, but okay. What do you think, Antriksh?
Yeah, you could give it to Hector.
Yeah. Yeah, then Hector and Shivang with option A. Okay. All right. I think now it's time for Q&A. If we have questions in the chat, let's answer them, Antriksh.
Alrighty, so I'm back. Thanks so much for that amazing talk, and Pratik, that was awesome. And now we're going to take questions. So anybody who has questions, either put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. We actually got a lot of Q&A questions. Here's a chat right away. So Jorg wants to know, do you have any examples of failed community attempts or failed things that you guys did that ended up after reviewing, like, hey, that didn't work out?
Antriksh, do you want to take on that answer?
Yeah, I can answer this. I think if when over a period of time, if your community is growing and there are too many stakeholders and is controlled by a certain group of board of directors, it becomes difficult to grow, and it becomes difficult to what you say, create inclusiveness among people. So I think that point of time, you need to use the methodology of STAR. I don't have the details of that. Sandeep, Pratik, what is the book? Starfish something?
Starfish, I'm not very sure about the book name, but yeah.
But yeah, we'll share the link of that. And it's important to decentralize communities to avoid risk of failure.
That's great.
I mean, there could be other models as well, but I think this is in my view.
Okay, awesome. So could you give just a follow-up on that? Could you give one example about how you can decentralize a community when it's scaling so that you don't get that, what you just said with potentially
Yeah,
being
I would say you could have, let's say, various chapters in their own cities running it how they would like to run it, because at the end, it's the local community members who want to gain out of the chapter, right? So let them run it how they want to run it, because it's 100% volunteered and not driven by a central body, which has probably, I would say, a vested interest, or let's say they are different in their thought process, or let's say they are from the old school. So let the community locally run by itself how they would want to do it.
Oh, I love that. We have a question from Hector. Do you think it's beneficial to partner with programs like Hack the Box in order to create a community around those types of platforms? Or is it counterproductive for the own identity of the community? What do you think?
I think it's always good to collaborate with various other communities, because it just helps reach a wider audience and share to a lot of other people who haven't heard of probably a community or a platform or a program. So I think it's always good to collaborate, because you can't win a war in one day. you need to collaborate with a lot of people and a lot of support from various other, I would say, teams and stuff like that. So it's good to collaborate always.
That sort of also aligns with what you just said about decentralization, about having other people involved and not just being a thing that you control, but it's a community is almost like a living thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and
yes.
it's always evolving and changing. So here's a question from Shivang. With so many communities already existing, so OWASP, B-Sides, NULLCON, here in America, let's say RSA and Black Hat, how would you recommend going about starting and growing a new community, a brand new one, and actually maintaining it and keeping it alive?
Pratik, do you want to take that? Because if I say, I would be a little, I wouldn't say biased, but I think it's not fair for me to say, to respond to the answer.
Yeah, I think just like Shivang mentioned that B2B cyber security, for a B2B cyber security company, what do you want to get out of that community, right? If you want to get more business, I think you would go with RSA or a business conference like RSA. And if we have to talk about the hacker conference, the security research conference, then I would go for DEFCON, NULLCON, or in general Null community. And Null community has all over the chapters in India and of course abroad as well. And and these are the free community meetups happening in local cities, and you can present there and always learn from others as well. And this is one way. Find out what do you want from that community when you are talking about the business perspective in terms of B2B cyber security company. And I think that's what you have to find out. And then building the community should be purely from non-business point of view. Yeah, that's what I said, Shivang. If we can, if it is a volunteer-driven community, and if that community has, just like NULLCON has first principles like volunteer-driven and the community focused and research oriented, then obviously that would be a non-business point of view.
I would just like to add that, Pratik, to Shivam's point, how do you grow a new community and actually maintain it alive? So Shivang, I think the best part would be is at least have a backup of somebody else who's willing to also drive the community with the same passion that you have, same objective in mind. And it's important to like in the initial slides, right? Repeat regular meetups or regular sessions, because this is how you're going to keep the community alive. Even if you don't have, let's say, if you have a community that does monthly talks, right, in a physical place. Let's say you don't have a talk for the next month. It's okay, but just have a meetup. Let people come and interact with each other. You never know. Maybe the first time there won't be any presentation, but the second time somebody might just do a impromptu presentation or share something that they learned something new, right? So keep on repeating and keep on trying to stay alive is important.
We have a question in the Q&A. It was from earlier. I think it was about when you had brought in that security person who was critical of the government, and you had them speak with a government representative, which was like, to me, like, wow, that's like amazing. That's something I would like definitely attend. So sorry for background noise. So like, how do you moderate a session between two parties that could conflict? I feel like this is really interesting for a viewer, but could go bad. What did you guys do to prep that like specific event?
So yes, when firstly it was difficult for, I wouldn't say difficult, but it took some convincing for us to get Elliot to come and speak, because let's be honest, I think there are a lot of people in the Indian government who are not happy with his public disclosure or responsible disclosure, right? But I think the representatives from the government who were there were quite mature, and they knew this was a public forum, and they were there because they wanted to learn from the community as well, and that's how we were able to, create the fine balance between the two parties who probably are on conflict. But yes, I think it was because both of them were mature enough to handle it pretty well. I have seen situations, on a similar note, I have seen situations where companies say that, hey, we would want to sponsor your conference if this company is not sponsoring your conference, right? Because they would want to get the best marketing, branding, visibility. So in such situations where I have come across, I've always said that, hey, I have no issues, but if there is something that, if you have an issue that, hey, this company cannot sponsor, then it's something that I will not accept. Ultimately, it's for you to decide if you want to continue to be on a vendor neutral platform or you want us to be biased. And we do not want to be biased for anybody, because this is, I would say, a community driven conference where nobody wants to listen to paid or marketing talks all the time. So yeah.
Awesome, great answer. We have a question from Vishaka. How do you handle with no revert backs when you were new? There would certainly be some who didn't pay initially, right? So how did you guys handle that when you guys were new conferences?
Can I read that question again? How?
Sure, I'm gonna repop it up in the chat.
Because I missed some points that you mentioned. So sorry about that. If you could just send it across. Yeah. Yeah. How did you handle no revert backs when you were new? Yes. It takes a lot of effort and convincing skills. Nobody's perfect, but I think the key was us to remain consistent. We had multiple follow-ups with multiple people many times, but things just die down. And it's okay, because everybody has their own personal goals and objectives to achieve. Some may align with your interests and some may not, but it's perfectly fine. And just, be patient, and maybe someday something might just turn up in your favor. So yeah.
Awesome.
But don't take anything personally out here, because everybody has their own business and personal goals to achieve. So yeah.
That's a great point, to not keep it, not take things personally. All right, so we're almost at an hour mark. We had a ton of questions. We'll try to get through. I think we have 3 more here, and anyone else who has a question, put it in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll deal or answer with them if we don't get to them after, via email. So I know you answered these in text, Ant, but if you could, we could do this quick. What was your goal when starting these conferences?
So when, let's take my personal example, right? I was still doing my master's, and there was nothing as such locally with regards to cybersecurity community in India. This is 2010, 11, right? So there were other user groups like Linux, Fedora, Microsoft, OWASP, but nothing with security. OWASP was there, yes, but that's only related to web, right? But what if I want to do something with infrastructure or mobile or hardware, right? So we started Null, and when it grew, we wanted to have a broader, wider audience from international perspective. So that's when we started the conference. We wanted to get international speakers to share, learn from us as well, collaborate with the Indian subcontinent. Because at the end of the day, if you take it, most of the IT companies outsource their software development to the Indian engineers, right? So it's important for us as a software developing country to know the latest trends in cybersecurity, so that we make secure products that the world can use.
Awesome. Okay, another quick last ones. How do you balance sponsorship with providing value? You spoke a little bit earlier. You said nobody wants to listen to a marketing talk all the time. That's not going to make a good conference. So how do you do the balance of getting income for your conference so you can keep it running and keep your community going with sponsors providing value?
So for us, it's pretty straightforward. We don't have paid talks or sponsored talks. It's just not possible. I think you will lose sponsors, which we have in the past, but I think at the end of the day, you will gain the trust of the community, and the researchers who come to the conference will go back with learning something new, and that's what they've paid you for, right? So yeah, if somebody wants to listen to a paid talk or product talk, they can obviously go to the exhibition area. That's where the sponsors are there to interact with the community. But on the main stage, which is the platform where researchers present their research, I personally, I am not very happy with somebody doing a marketing page talk unless it's an open source tool, because that's in a way not selling something, but it's something giving back to the community because it's an open source product.
Awesome. All right. Well, we had one last question that was about what are you guys doing for meetups during COVID? And that will be our last question. So how are you keeping the community alive during everything being virtual?
I think we have a lot of platforms. Pratik, you want to say, because when we started something online, Pratik came up with wonderful ideas, and he decided to use the Zoom platform, which we are also using today. So Pratik, I think you should answer this question.
I think what we did, we focused on COVID-19 situation where in the cybersecurity community, few people were losing their job, or few people were starting into cybersecurity, and that's where we decided to move the resume clinic to virtual. And we had a wonderful response to that. We found a hack how to organize that in a one session and not having too many rooms, so that it will be very difficult for attendees to move around in the room. And yeah, one way was we started to introduce our physical events, which we used to organize into virtual form using Zoom, and then using Discord as well. So we also started to organize training events in the online platform, and Zoom is a great tool to organize that. You just have to do some kind of use some kind of tricks, and make it compatible for your benefit. And same goes with the Discord. On Zoom, the communication can happen for, let's say, around 3 to 4 hours, but on Discord, that continuous communication is happening with all the community. So use the digital platforms which are useful for your community, and that will help us you to survive in COVID-19 situation.
That's awesome. I love that you are, in some ways, COVID was very bad. Only in the community ways did it allow people to realize that they can build a digital arm, if they weren't already digital, of their community because they had to. And I hear you, Pratik. We love Zoom here, although everyone gets zoomed out eventually. So we're going to now close this out. So and Pratik, how do people find you? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, just final thoughts, and this is a food for thought for everyone. There is an excellent framework which you can implement in your communities. It's a FOSS contributor evaluation of sharing, which is loosely inspired by Geoffrey Murray face model. And you can look at this, and this is a food for thought. And if you want to know more about this, you can contact York Seaman. I will share my email ID so that I can connect if you want to know more about this particular framework. And I want to thank Gianna, Maria, and Erin, the three awesome pilots of Cybersecurity Marketing Society. York, again, he helped us in preparation of this presentation, and Sandeep Singh, Antriksh mentioned his name in the presentation as well. And yeah, this is contact details. Antriksh's contact, antriksh@payatu.com, and mine is pratik.ghumade@audius.de.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I got to say, as someone who also runs a community, the Cybersecurity Marketing Society, which is a community, I learned a ton. So everybody, this will be a recording. We'll put it on YouTube. We'll post it on our blog, and we'll be sharing it with our social media as well. So you'll be able to review a recap. And thank you again so much, Ant and Pratik, for coming. This has been awesome. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Gianna.
Yeah.
Bye.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.